Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is The Corner Bookstore. This is one of my favorite shows. I recently became an author in 2021, and I owe a lot of my success to the man who is hosting the show today. His name is Mr. Red O'Loughlin, and he's been with me since 2021 when my first book became an Amazon #1 bestseller. I think we've had 3 or 4 since then. And we have, I think, 6 more books we're releasing this year. Red, come on out. Nice to see you, my friend.
always nice to be seen.
Red, I don't know how you do it. With everything that you do here on this platform, you have an entire life outside of here. You have helped me so much with your book coaching, and we've been able to come together and without any experience put out this content. We've got children's books. We've got a new book series coming out about elevated listening. Tell us about how you work with people like myself to have us get self-published and also to get that recognition from Amazon.
Well, there was a time where I was invited onto the show. I think it's by our other host, DIANN. And I believe at that point in time, I was talking about how to write and publish your book for free. And based on that particular presentation, I think you reached out to me or we connected somehow, regardless, it doesn't matter the mechanism. But we started talking and you said, well, I want to do this, I want to do that. And we just kind of decided that we're going to do it together. And the first book was Behind the Green Screen, which was your transition from the corporate world to becoming an entrepreneur and starting out in the business of public broadcasting. And then that led to something else, which led to something else, which led to something else. And in the process, I'm going to say you're more of the instigator in this entire process than anything else, because this month of September, you have 4 books coming out. And that wouldn't have been possible with any other client that I worked with, because that's not the way they operate. I believe you have the system, if I remember right, it's called Gold Stars. Is that right, Dr. Jacalyn?
It is. I'm all about the gold stars. You know that. And you've got plenty of gold stars yourself. And we've got a guest who has plenty of gold stars as well. Red, tell our audience a little bit about the work that you do in addition to the book coaching. And then we're going to bring out our special guest.
I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So I research the human body. I look for what causes things to happen. But I look at it from an aging perspective. What causes us to age? What is it about longevity that we might be able to improve our lives? So that's what I write about. That's what I speak about. That's what I research about all the time. I do that on a regular basis. I speak on a regular basis, and I help clients like Dr. Jacalyn with their books as a coach and as a publisher. Beyond that, I love to cook. I love to garden. I love to do a lot of other things, and I do all those with my wife of 55 years. And we just have a wonderful time. We just found out very, very recently our first great grandson will be born in early February. And so that's just something that just makes us tingle all over. Beyond that, I love to read. I love to do a lot of things. And in the preliminary, getting to know Beth Splaine coming up here, just all of a sudden she went off in one direction I wasn't expecting. And oh my goodness. So we have a very, very, very talented, major experience in the world coming up to join us today. So with that, I'm going to introduce Elizbeth Splaine. Please join us.
Elizabeth, come on out. And we're going to call you Beth today. Yes.
Great. Thank you for having me. And congratulations, Red, on your impending great-grandson. That's so exciting.
Yeah, they've been married almost 6 years. We figured eventually it would happen. But,
Oh,
so it's one of those things. I guess I don't know if it was well planned out or thought out or not, but as it is, things happen and we're eternally grateful. Our next granddaughter down in line has decided that, yeah, she's certainly old enough to get married, but I think she's going to become a professional student. I don't know. Just finish that. But it's interesting though, because my grandson's wife had a 4.0 GPA in college in 3 years. And
wow.
what she liked about my grandson, I don't know, but it's worked out very, very well. So regardless,
Fantastic.
the mystery. And then we have
That's
one more
great.
granddaughter that's senior in high school. But the show's not about me. The show's about you. So
Yeah,
one
but
of
that's so special. It's wonderful.
That
Anyway.
is nice.
Thank
I
you.
was going to give a little bit of backstory. So Beth actually came to our platform, I believe, through Ann Scotland.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Spiritual Butt. And then we reached out to you as we always do with the survey, and you became an elevated listener, which means so much to me. It's my mission for everyone in this world to learn how to listen. But you've had quite a career yourself. You're no stranger to the stage. You're a former opera singer, and you're a vocal coach, and you're an author. And so I'm just wondering if you could share a little bit with our audience about, was the authoring at the same time as the being on the stage as an opera singer? Because that seems like it would take a lot of time and energy.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Jacalyn. So I started out in healthcare. I got a master's in healthcare administration, and I worked in healthcare for 10 years. And while I was working in healthcare, towards the end of that 10 years, I started auditioning and getting roles in local opera companies. And then I built that up to regional companies. And then I decided that I didn't want to be on stage anymore. It was like a switch went off. I had started to write a novel, not on purpose. A character popped in my head that would not leave. And I went downstairs after brushing my teeth. This character came in my head and I started writing. And my husband came home and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I think I'm writing a book." And that book has never been published. I'm actually in the process of rewriting it right now. So it will end up being the first of 3 of a trilogy. And then, so I continued writing and the ideas kept coming. And then I won a contest. So my 3rd book was traditionally published. It did well. And I moved on to a 4th book, which was also traditionally published, and a 5th as well. So I have a children's book coming, my first children's book coming out in November. And the artist doing the illustrations is from Ukraine. So it's very, very special to me. It's called Tyrone the Mouse Tenor. And I have another book coming out next year, which is unique and different and based on a real story that blew my mind when I heard it. So that's how I got where I am.
Well, that's curious because I wouldn't think of a mouse being a tenor.
A bass, right?
Obviously.
Right. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Beth, I want to ask, when you told your husband this and you said you were writing, what was his reaction? Because it's probably completely out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. And I had written for a parenting blog, like 2 articles, but I always enjoyed writing, but I never saw myself as a writer or wrote anything longer than an article. And so when I said, what I really said was, he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I don't know. I think I'm writing a book." And he said, "What?" And I said, "I think I'm writing a book." And he was like, "Okay," And so, but I just kept writing. And now I've gone back and I'm rereading that first book, and it's, he's blind, and he is blinded by he's a child psychologist, and he's blinded by one of his clients. And he's so troubled about the fact that he missed the warning signs in this kid that he goes back to school to become a profiler and gets teamed up with a Boston homicide detective. So, and they of course become romantically involved, but he's never seen her. So the first book is all from his perspective. So there's no sight in the book. It's completely from his perspective. And so as I'm rewriting it, I'm trying to decide whether I can get away with that or whether I need to switch perspectives each chapter to make sure that it's interesting enough. But it's fun to go back and see how much I've grown, not only as a writer, but as a business person around the job of writing, which I think a lot of writers, especially aspiring writers, don't necessarily think about for good reason. As you guys know, it's daunting, it's time sucking, it's not super creative. So for a creative person who wants to just spill onto the page, if I could, I would just keep writing books and leave the business to someone else, but that's not the way it works. And that's okay, because it forces a writer, in my opinion, to take responsibility not only for the product, but for the dissemination of the product.
It's interesting that you chose blind. Is that part of something in your experience in healthcare that prompted you to think this way and then kind of develop a potential book? 'Cause that's not something most of us would think about.
Yeah. The character popped in my head. His name popped in my head first, Julian Stryker. I just thought it was a really powerful name. And he came to me blind. Like I knew exactly what he looked like. I knew he had been stabbed by one of his clients. The only experience, and I do have a very little bit, and I say that in all seriousness because I don't want to say that I'm an advocate or, but when I did my internship between first and second years of grad school at North Suffolk Mental Health Association in Chelsea, Massachusetts, they had some houses that where people who were differently abled could reside. So they had the deaf house, they had a blind house. So I went with the person that was overseeing my internship to these places, and I was impacted. I mean, it's very powerful to sit in a room with I'm the only hearing person there, and plus my mentor, and everything is done in ASL, sign language, and it's powerful. It was very powerful. Same with the blind house. That's what it was called. It sounds terrible, but and just very powerful and how things were laid out. And so yeah, I think it did impact me. And I think what I love about this character, Julian Stryker, he went through the 5 stages of grief, but he comes out on the other side and decides he's going to make a fabulous life for himself. And I think that idea of overcoming adversity, of course, is a wonderful idea that hopefully I bring to all of my books. But the books include, starting with Julian, before I even knew what my themes were or what my mantra was, is about hope and kindness, forgiveness, compassion. So a theme in all of my books is also choice. We can choose to be happy. We can feel sad, but it's a choice to kind of move through that sadness, sit with your discontent or sit with your sadness or your worry, and then walk through it. And hopefully coming out stronger on the other side. Having gone through grief with my mother passing last year, the phrase sit with your whatever, sit with your grief, sit with your anger. It doesn't mean you let it consume you. It means that you acknowledge that feeling, you process it, and then you choose to move forward in a positive way with hope, compassion, kindness, love, and forgiveness. So, but these are all choices. And so this is in my book. So I didn't even realize back then that I was creating kind of a brand, but that's my brand. So.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. A question I have for you is, with your career in opera and your work as a vocal coach, how has that impacted your writing, or what have you learned from that career that you're now incorporating into your writing?
Yeah, it's a great question. No performance is ever perfect. No book is ever perfect. You give everything your all, and you practice and you rehearse and you rewrite and you edit and you edit and you edit and you rewrite, but nothing is ever perfect. Another thing I've learned is someone said to me early on, I hope you're ready for this publishing business because this is pretty nasty. I mean, it can be pretty brutal. And I laughed and I said, oh, honey, I sang at the Metropolitan Opera for exactly 11 seconds in an audition, in a cattle call audition with 600 other opera singers that lasted 2 days. We stood in line for 2 days. I'm good. You don't need to worry about me. The other thing is, I don't have a music degree. I don't have a teaching degree. And so every single thing that I have gotten by not taking no for an answer. It doesn't mean I'm the best singer or the best teacher. I know what I'm good at and I know what I need to work on. I'm very clear about that. And I'm always upfront about it. Same thing with my writing. I know what my strengths are and I know what I need to work on. But celebrate the wins, celebrate the milestones that help you get to your goal. Don't create a goal that is so far out of your reach that you set yourself up to fail, which I did early on, both with writing and with singing. So they are remarkably similar. The way you approach, one thing that always bothered me when I was singing is that I wasn't creating anything. I would take a Mozart aria and I would perform it. Yes, I would do it in my own way and I was interpreting it and, make sure my Italian or German was accurate, but I wasn't creating anything. And I always wanted to kind of write songs, but it wasn't my thing. So when I started writing, I realized I'm creating something that no one has ever seen, including me, because it evolves just like your performance evolves and your ability to relax into a performance and your ability to relax into your book. Sometimes the outside forces on stage take control for a little bit and you have to learn how to roll with the punches. I have a very funny story about a prop that I forgot to bring on stage and how I handled it that I won't bore you with now, but it ended with the audience laughing really hard and I thought I was going to be fired because it wasn't supposed to be funny. And the director came to the dressing room after and I thought, oh, he's going to fire me. And he said, why are you not doing comedy in New York? That was awesome. So rolling with the punches, same thing with the book. I have a plan, right? You go in with a plan, maybe not the full plan, but a lot of the plan. And then one of your characters says something or does something and you're like, well, didn't see that coming. And then you kind of take a right turn and that's okay. It's fun. Might take longer, but again, it's the journey, not the destination. It sounds silly, but I'm so goal oriented that it's still a process for me when I write a book. I'm like, I got to get it done. Got to get it done. And then I'm like, you can't drive yourself to finish that way. You can drive yourself into a good work ethic of I'm going to write a chapter a day, but it's a chapter a day. So if there are 50 chapters, it's going to take you at least 50 days. And we all know it's way more than that because it doesn't work out that way, but it's going to take you at least 50 days. So those off the top of my head are some similarities. I hope I answered your question.
You did, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Two quick things that came up there. One of the things I tell my clients is at some point in time, we're going to have to declare victory and move on because you can't keep making everything better. You have a time frame, you got publishing, you got whatever it may happen to be. There are dates.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yep.
Isn't that right, Dr. Jacalyn?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. We have dates. And so it's good enough. It's not great. It's not fat, but you have to declare victory and move on. And so if you accept that as a potential in what you're doing, as you're saying, I can always go back and change it. There's nothing saying you can't, but that is one of those things that you have when you're on a schedule, you can't make it perfect. And I think that acceptable is whatever victory you decide to apply to it. I know that sometimes I'm reading and the journey is there. I'm super engrossed. And then all of a sudden the character gets killed out of nowhere. It's just an accident. And I have to go back. I go back and I read that 2 or 3. is that character really gone? Because there was so much time invested in that, and the character's gone. She's no longer there. And so you're talking about creating, sometimes that creation leads you, and then sometimes it just falls off the edge of the cliff. And if you're that creative, I mean, you really capture the audience, and it sounds like that's kind of what you're doing with the kind of character development, particularly when you experience that you're the only person in the room that can hear, or the only person in the room can see. That gives you a totally different perspective on the narrative as things are going. I just find that to be fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And two things came to mind that I'll probably forget the other one. But when, one of the hardest things to teach in voice is to, when I say to the student, you want the audience to come to you. You want them to be leaning forward for the next thing that's going to come out of your mouth, which means you don't want to blast them from the very beginning. You want to lead up and then, hit the high point and then back off again, so that the audience is constantly kind of doing this. And that's how you keep them on the hook. And that's exactly the same thing with writing, except it's writing, and it's really a much longer process. So trying to translate that 4.5 to 8 minute aria into a book but it's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. And I've never thought about it that way, but it's true, because a performance is about giving everything you have, but creating this beautiful line that sucks the audience in so much that when you stop, they're either crying if you wanted them to cry, or they're laughing if you wanted them to laugh. That's like the ultimate compliment, in my opinion. It's a hard thing to teach. When people walk through the door, when people walk through the door, people talk about the it factor, and every student is talented and every student improves and is wonderful. And I'm so grateful to teach every one of my students. But just in every other field, there are some people that walk through the door and they become the character as soon as not even the words, as soon as the first chord is laid down on the piano. And it's exactly the same way with writing. And it's a hard thing to teach. But it can be done. It absolutely can be done. And I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but it'll come back. Story of my life.
Thanks, Beth. A question that I wanted to ask you is, when you think about this journey, right? We're talking about gold stars, and I think you're another one of those who wants to collect the gold stars, and right? You're
Yes.
yes. So are gold stars to you the money from selling books? Is it the reviews? Is it the awards? Is it the personal expression? How would you describe it for you?
It's definitely not the money, as we all know. Maybe some of the viewers don't know. It's not the money in writing. I love the process of writing, like as as torturous as it can be sometimes. I really genuinely love the process of writing. Like, and like most writers, I live in my book. There was a time when I was writing Swan Song about an opera singer who rises to fame in Nazi Germany and discovers she's a quarter Jewish, and she falls in love with Hitler's real-life nephew, whose kids still live on Long Island. They decided to get the heck out of Germany. She gets kidnapped from the boat and sent to Terezin, which was the quote-unquote country club of concentration camps. Not my words from people that were actually there. And I got to visit that camp when I was just in the Czech Republic a couple of weeks ago. It was very powerful. But wait, well, I already forgot the question. I'm so sorry. What was the question? I started thinking about the concentration. Oh, money, right? Money. Okay. The other thing, so certainly the process of writing. So when I was writing Swan Song, the main character, Ursula, was in a prison. And I stopped writing for like 4 or 5 weeks. It was during COVID. And I kept thinking, I have to get her out of there. She's rotting in there. I have to get her out of there. And so I love that idea of the character living in my head. Sometimes it's not pleasant if the character isn't pleasant, but I love that. The other thing I love more than anything is talking to readers. it's great to get emails and nice comments and great reviews. Of course, I love that. But I love talking to readers. I love when they want to hear the behind the scenes stories, because just like in opera, when I do performances just for fun now, sometimes I'll tell a behind the scenes story and people are like, that's so cool, because it's a world not many people know. And so the behind the scenes stories, talking to readers and then engaging with them about their own lives and how my books interact with their lives I love that. Absolutely love it. I mean, to me, that's just the best thing in the world, because this is everything. Connection is everything to me. Eye contact, it's about relationships. The world moves forward on relationships. And I think a lot of people recently have forgotten that. And so if my books do a little bit to promote that, and if I can do book clubs, meet with book clubs and do this one-on-one or one-on 12 or whatever conversation, absolutely my favorite thing in the world.
Thank you, Beth.
I was kind of drawn to your conversation about doing an aria in your audience and leaving them laughing or crying.
Mm.
And that applies to speaking too, because sometimes you get a very dynamic speaker and they bring you up to here and they keep you there. And in 10 minutes, the audience is wiped out. And whether
Yeah.
you're down low or up high or laughing your butt off. And the same thing can happen in some books. You get some of those books and it just kind of keeps you at I need a break. But that is something that, from your perspective, and you're right, you have to have that cadence and that tempo, because you can't keep everybody at an elevated level throughout the entire time, because you're sucking them in, but you're sucking all the energy out of them.
It's a good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
And so
I
so it's an awareness of, okay, yeah, this is happening and I'm going to get that person out of wherever it is. But there has to be some thought processes. Well, how am I going to do that? And I think that's kind of what you're aware of, because it's living here, and your subconscious mind, you give it, how do I do this? And
That's right.
and even though you don't know the answer, you challenge your brain. How am I going to do this? How am I going to? And all of a sudden, and it's working 24/7. So you're sleeping, it's still working on that challenge you gave it. And then all of a sudden, oh, I know the answer.
Yes.
And
I was on a massage table in Panama when the ending of Devil's Grace, which is a medical thriller, came to me literally face down, and I went, "Oh!" And the massage therapist was like, "What?" And I said, never mind." And I was so excited, and I just wanted to get home, because of exactly what you said, Red. It had been living in my brain, and I didn't love it. I have to love it, and I didn't love it. And then I had my aha moment, and it was wonderful. And that same ending of the book, I had a woman, a complete stranger, call me. I have no idea how she got my phone number. Anyway, she called me and she said, "Hi, you don't know me, but I read this book, Devil's Grace, and I have to ask you about the ending." And I said, "Okay." And she said, is it this or this at the ending?" And I said, "Well, actually, that's up to you to decide." And she said, "What? No, 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 no. There has to be like a set ending." I said, "No, it's your choice, actually." And she said, uh, "Okay, well, I think this." I said, "Okay, then that's what it is." She's like, "No, no." And it was just a really interesting conversation. So to your point about leaving people up, like keeping them up here, I don't know. I don't know about that one. That's kind of a weird. I've never written an ending like that before or since, because I wasn't sure if there was going to be a sequel or not. And honestly, I'm still not sure. But I hear you. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Great question, comments. Thank you. I want to go over to your website, make sure that we get an opportunity for people to see the work that you've created. So let's go ahead and pull up your website, which is your name with author at the end. So elizbsplaineauthor.com. Tell us where we should go here for the readers. The viewers, sorry.
Well, there's a banner at the top where you can see where I'm going to be and what I'm working on now, and some articles or blogs, things about that. You can contact me through there, which is wonderful. Another thing I love to do is chat with readers who are usually writers, and often I end up reading their work. It's getting to the point where I'm not able to do it as much as I want to. But I do try to do that because I was encouraged, and I try to pay that forward all the time. And then a little bit about me, my history, how I came to be where I am. And actually, there's nothing on there yet about, there's my family. There's nothing on there yet about my children's book that's coming out, because I wrote it several years ago. And on a whim, I contacted this artist in Ukraine, and she agreed to do the illustrations, which are just phenomenal. So that kind of came out of nowhere. But actually, we're missing a member. My son was just married several weeks ago, my oldest son. So my daughter-in-law, Sarah, is not in that picture, but I'll have to replace that with one of the wedding photos.
Oh,
So,
congratulations.
thanks. It's exciting. Yeah.
It's exciting. Okay, and let's go over to Amazon and take a look at your works there. Okay.
When we get done
And
with Amazon, I do want to ask you about a nonfiction book. So kind of throw that one out there for the future. But so let's look at Amazon now.
Okay.
Your first book is
Wow,
which one?
Steel Butterflies is at $9.99. Oh, Kindle. I get it. Never mind.
who made that
wow,
change? I didn't authorize that.
dramatic. Yeah. It's interesting because something I've been working on personally recently is not banging my head against a wall. In terms of you ask people to write reviews, and everybody says they're going to do it, and approximately 8 to 10% of them do. And I used to just be like, or calling a bookstore that won't return the phone call, so I'm finally beginning to let go a little bit and say, okay, it's okay that people aren't writing reviews, as long as they like the book. So my concern is that if people don't write reviews, it's because they didn't finish the book or they didn't like it. But again, I have no control over that. So I hope that people like it, but there's only so much you can do. And I've done that with so many other parts of my life. But with this, like everything you care so much about, you want to just drive forward, drive, goal, goal, goal. And sometimes I'm not in control and I need to let go of that. So that's something I've been working on when I sit there and look at 14 reviews for Steel Butterflies.
Listen, 14 is a good number. I have one book that has 2 reviews, and it's crazy because people will tell you they're going to write it, but then they'll come back and say Amazon never posted it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if
I've heard,
it's true or not.
Well, the other thing that I've heard from people is that they said, I read the other reviews and I feel pressure because people are such good writers. And I'm like, no, you don't even have to write anything. Just do stars. And I said, and if you didn't like it, then give it 3 stars, or like, be honest. I want truth. I have a good friend here in Rhode Island, and she loved Swan Song, like just loved it. And then she was so excited for Steel Butterflies, and she ended up giving it 4 stars. And she was nervous about it. And I said to her, I so appreciate that you told me the truth, because this book is for this person, this book is for this person, but everybody's not going to love all your books. And nor should they, because I don't know, I always write different things. I write about what interests me. So that's not going to interest everyone, and that's okay. So that's a process.
Yeah. I love that process of letting go.
Mhm.
Red?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because people ask me quite often, what about CBD oil or something? I have no interest in it. If enough people ask me, I may develop an interest in it. But a single person or two, somebody asked me the other night, what about? I don't know a thing about it, never heard of it before. But it's something that somebody has. But you do voice training, you do a lot of things, and I'm thinking to myself, everything you're doing here is a novel and fiction. Have you ever considered doing a nonfiction book and some of these skills that you have with regard to being able to do to improve people's voice needs, or whatever it may happen to be?
It's a great question. I have thought about writing a book about teaching voice. There are certainly so many books out there. So I'm not sure how I would, thinking ahead to the business end, how I would market myself in terms of, because people who write books like that are experts. I am an expert now. I can say that. I didn't used to say that, but now I say that. But I suffer from I'm never good enough. Like there's always more to learn. So yes, I could put down on paper what I know right now. And it doesn't change because, singing well is not rocket science. It's muscle memory and, control and relaxation. But I think if I were going to do anything, Red, I would do a podcast about it, or TikTok videos. Do like 35-second TikTok videos. My son, Max, who's a sophomore in college, does a TikTok reels called Max Gets Better, and he plays a game called Better Than Yesterday, and it's about getting out of your comfort zone and improving your mental health. And he now has over 18,000 followers, and he started, with 200. So there are so many people out there doing this, and students will walk in. I know you probably know this already, but students will walk in and be like, I watched this video, and I'm like, no, 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 no. So I could do that. It's a question of what's worth the time, because it takes a lot of time, as you know, to do podcasts or videos and to make them good. And in our 7.5-second generation of people that don't want it, they give you 7 seconds or 3 seconds to capture their interest. I don't know if I could do that, honestly.
I
Or if
know a
I want
great
to.
platform that you could do your podcast on, just saying.
Good point. Excellent point.
Did you know when you started that you would have sequels to some of these books?
No, absolutely not. Yeah. When I wrote the first one that is tentatively called, never published, The Blind Leading the Blind, but that's been overused, so I'm trying to find a new title. But when I started that, I thought this character came in my head, and I was just going to write this book and move on. And then I decided to not publish it because I knew it wasn't good enough. I didn't know why, but I knew it wasn't good enough. So I literally put it in a drawer. And and then it was December 28th of whatever year, and I was driving my youngest son, Max, to sleepaway camp for New Year's. We lived in Michigan at the time. And I was driving, and I said, "Oh, I just came up with a great character." And he said, "What?" And I said, "She's a pediatric cancer doctor who kills guys at night but cures kids during the day." And my poor kid, he's like 9. And he was like, "Oh my God, Mom." I was like, "I know, isn't it fabulous? Let's think of a really ironic name." So I came up with Linda. Linda in Spanish means pretty, right? And so he said Linda Gold. And I said, "No, but that's good." So we came up with Linda Sterling. And so when I wrote that book, which I love, it's called Blind Order. This woman is so broken, and she was so much fun to write. Just like it's fun to play a villain, because I'm a mezzo soprano, so I always play boys, whores, or maids, pretty much, except for like Cinderella, which I didn't play, or Carmen. She's a whore. Anyway, sorry, it's a family show. But it was just so fabulous to come up with this great character because I could write her. But then I would flip over to Julian Stryker, who was the light and the compassion and the kindness and the love. So there was this yin and yang, this push and pull throughout the whole book. It's still one of my favorites. And then when I was writing that, the people who read that said, "You have to do more Julian Stryker. This is such a great character." And anyway, so I ended up writing the next book, which is called Blind Knowledge. And it's about a little girl who is standing in the middle of the road. Julian and his girlfriend find her in the middle of the road, and she's holding a jar of buttons, and she doesn't speak. So Julian is a child psychologist, but he can't see. So she doesn't speak. He can't see. How do they draw each other out through the book? And that's been that was the third blind book. So once I rewrite the first one and get that one out there, I do think I have another Julian Stryker in me. I don't know when, but I've had a bunch of ideas. I always have a million ideas, and I've started to write at least 3 more books that I have at least a chapter or 2 of, because these new characters come in my head. So
this will be the prequel to the books you already have out.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the storylines. Fascinating.
Thanks. It's so fun to write. Julian is like slipping on an old pair of slippers. Like he's so easy to write. And his assistant, Jesse, Jesse James, whose real name is William Stein, but he wanted to be an actor. It didn't work out, so he kept the stage name. So it's Jesse. And, he's such a character. So, and he takes care of Julian and, and he's very bossy and he's just fabulous. The characters I love them so much. It's funny. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I hope other writers are like this. Otherwise I feel like I'm weird, but it's just so fun to write those books.
Beth, how can people get your books? What's the best way for you to send them?
Probably bookshop.org is a great way because that supports local bookstores, which is great. I'd be thrilled if people went to their local libraries and asked the library to buy several copies of each book. That would be great. People don't need to buy my book. I want my books to get out there because I have something to say, and I think I'm hoping it will positively impact people. I'm not saying it's the best in the world, but I think they're enjoyable, and I think that people can be positively impacted. So obviously Amazon, but bookshop.org, but really going to your local bookstore and asking them to order the book, or going to your local library and asking them to order the book would be awesome. Thank you.
Bring up something so interesting because that's something that nobody else on any of the shows we've been on.
I was just going to say that.
Yes, it's so obvious, but we just don't think about it. I mean, Dr. Jacalyn, I've talked about on some of her books, and she's knocked on doors here, there, and yonder. But to go to the library and say, "This is a really great book. I would love to have it available for your readers." That is, I love that. I really and truly do. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, my pleasure. Libraries it's funny because a lot of libraries, as you know, are trying to figure out how to bring people in. And so same thing with some religious institutions. And I know I think it's in New York, there's a synagogue that became a community center. So they have the religious component, but it's also a place for kids to come and play pool. And they also have a library attached. So, as we continue to move forward, I feel like we need to figure out how to incorporate new ideas to draw people in. People think of libraries as the Dewey Decimal System and a card catalog. Obviously I'm dating myself, but there's so much more than the internet if you walk into a library, and libraries are our friends. If you want to get your book out there as a struggling writer, then do a program related to your book. Don't just sell your book. You're going to sell your book if you go up there and you talk to people about the process of writing. Or I created a presentation called Lessons from a Probably Should Be Committed Writer. And it's like 42 slides. It's in 3 sections. It's about writing a book, publishing a book, and marketing a book. And I know that's your bailiwick, and I'm not trying to step on your toes, but I went to local libraries and I've given it every time I've done it. Aspiring writers are coming and they're like, well, how can I get your books? So, you're selling 15 books at a time without selling your book. You're just imparting knowledge you've gained along the way. And again, I am about paying it forward. That's what teaching is, right? You gather knowledge and then you find curious people and you vomit it out all over them. And they love it and they absorb it or they don't. And so that's why libraries are absolutely critical, in my opinion, to us as a society. And I feel like we need to harness new ways of using them. And this is one of them.
Brilliant. Excellent points. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I'm actually presenting at 5 local libraries before the end of the year. Yay.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just made a note to myself to invite Beth to be on the Wise Ones show at some point in time in the future. Because
does that mean I'm wise?
Very wise, Beth.
it means that you have something to share that I think an audience would truly enjoy. And I truly believe that.
Oh, thanks. That's very thoughtful. I appreciate that.
I'd love to have you on the film and music show also because our co-host is a vocal coach in London. She's a very good friend of mine as well. And I would love to have the 2 of you get to know each other.
That'd be awesome. I think both of those sound super fun. I love doing, as you know, to me, this is just a conversation. It's like we're at a cocktail party. I'm like, oh my God, what did she say? It's great.
Well, we have to close out this show. We have another show right after this. Beth, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you? We've put up your website. We've shown the author page, but maybe people just want to hang out and get to know you better or have a chat about experience. How would you like people to reach out, and who would you like to reach out?
Anyone. I love talking to anybody. Of course, I'd love to chat with anyone. It's super fun. And I've made friends, actual friends from people that I've stumbled across. So it's been such a gift. I will give my email, which you can get on my website too. So I don't mind doing this. And it's, can I type it in or should I just say it? It's elizbsplaine@aol.com. So ELIZ and then B as in Beth and then Splaine, elizbsplaine@aol.com. And people should feel free to shoot me a note and I will get back to you. I always do. It may take me 2 or 3 days, but I do it. So anybody, anytime.
And for our audio audiences listening today, Splaine is SPLAINE. So it's
Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
thank
And you
you.
can also contact me through my website. There's a contact me that will come to my AOL account. So if you can't remember that. Thank you so much. This was a ball. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We look forward to having you on one of our other shows soon.
Okay. Thanks. Have a great
Bye
day,
for
guys.
now. You too. Bye,
Bye.
Beth.
I know.
Red, she was so much fun, and I learned so much as well.
Absolutely. And especially on something that can help other authors, and just go to your library and say, hey, this is a great book, can you order? That tidbit in and of itself is super amazing because we
Super
just
gold.
don't okay, you do this, but that was something new. And we've talked about you trying to get into different bookstores and things, and but just walking up and asking, who would have flunked that?
Red, what is the best way for people to reach you, and who would you like to contact you?
The best way to contact me is call me on the phone, 281-687-1188. Just give me a voice call, leave a message. If you text me, yes, I'll respond, just not as quickly as I do to voice. My best email way to reach me is red.o'laughlin@gmail.com. That's red like the color, RED, .o'laughlin, OLAUGHLIN @gmail.com. My website is redolaughlin.com. On the website, my contact information also. I can help people with their writing. They need a book coach, and I don't take on everybody, but there are certain requirements. I'll be more than happy to help you there. You're a new author. I really and truly over 30 books from new authors. Just getting your book published. You want to talk about getting a book published? More than happy to answer those questions. So give me a buzz. I'm more than happy to talk on those subjects.
All right. Thank you so much, Red. We look forward to seeing you later on The Wise Ones and on Talking Heads.
I can't wait. Let me get my running shoes off and get over to that next studio.
Okay. Bye for now. Thank you, everyone. Whether you're watching on the live or the replay, we're super happy to have you with us. If you'd like to be a guest, please go over to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com, and you can book your session. So a selfish plug for one of the new books that I have coming out, Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening, Solutions for Deeper Connections, Better Relationships, and More Authentic Conversations. This book already became a #1 new release in the first week that the pre-order. So the book is actually going to be available in paperback and hardback on the International Day of Listening, which is September 21st. I've written this book as a textbook. It has case studies, it has testimonials, and it has 2 quizzes. One you take at the beginning and one you take at the end, because everybody thinks they're a great listener. But guess what? You're probably not. We all have something to learn. So that's why I've written this, so that it can help people, because I really believe when we're listening at an elevated level, we have a much greater chance in this world for inner peace, which I believe will lead to world peace. So that's enough of my sermon for now. Let's hear from our sponsors. We're going to start with the lovely DIANN Floyd-Boehm, and then we will hear from Zane Carson Carruth. Take a look and take a listen. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm children's author DIANN Floyd-Boehm, and I am co-host for several of the USA Global TV and radio shows. I joined because of the purpose of the USA Global TV and radio. They provide content for the viewers and listeners, an opportunity for people around the world to have their own show or even be a guest on an existing show. We truly believe in helping others get their positive message out to the world. We also have the opportunity for the listeners. You can watch on several platforms, and on YouTube, you can ask questions and even give a comment. We absolutely love it. I love being part of the USA Global TV and Radio because I love positive messages. And who doesn't? And we need more of that in the world. We are a family, and we hope you will join us and become part of the family too.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Caruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating more memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Abella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Abella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com. and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
Meet Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, President, Founder, and Chief Listening Officer of USA Global TV and Radio. She is a certified life, career, and executive coach. Dr. Jacalyn is the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Behind the Green Screen and Adversity to Awesome. As the listening mentor, she teaches children and their families how to listen at an elevated level through the book series titled The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. The Creative Hearts Awakening book series features heart-centric creatives who share their awakening journey. Through the Power of Listening educational course platform, people can get certified as elevated listeners on USA Global TV and Radio. Learn how to center yourself and align with nature through the power of nature, plants, and shrines. The Journey of Chakra Psychology course will educate you on the chakras and their meaning. The Intuition of the Heart course will help you understand how to trust your intuition. Learn how to face the shadows of self and understand the impact of following trends and materialism. Set boundaries and ask for permission to help establish better relationships, deeper connections, and more authentic conversations. Take your communication expertise to a higher level with the course for curious humans. After all, we are not robots. Looking to start your own podcast platform? Get everything you need in the Podcaster Pro package with Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. How can music, breath, and your voice set you free? Find out with the Power of Listening courses. Dr. Jacalyn is a certified meditation teacher, yoga instructor, and Juice Plus distributor. She will help you create a plan for your healthy lifestyle. As an expert in the art of interviewing with over 3,000 hosted and/or produced live broadcasts, Dr. Kerbeck helps her clients stand out as global broadcasters. Dr. Kerbeck's books are available on Amazon. Start your listening journey by reading. Tune into the Listening Mentor TV show, Fridays on USA Global TV, and learn how listening can be your superpower. Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, MBA, DBA, Certified Holistic Life, Career, and Executive Coach, Certified Yoga Sculpt Teacher, Certified Meditation Teacher, The Listening Mentor, Singer-Songwriter, Founder, President, Chief Listening Officer of USA Global TV and Radio. drjacalyn.com. Thank you to all our elevated listeners, team members, animal characters, and co-authors. Contact us at 215-852-9406. Jacalyn at drjacalyn.com.
This program is brought to you in part by the British School of Excellence and founder, Mr. Philip Sykes. Building confidence, changing lives. Do you share our view that etiquette is a set of modern life skills that are essential for personal and professional success? Join us as an etiquette coach and change people's lives through the power of etiquette and manners. Thank you to our clients for their testimonials on the Train the Trainer program. Our exponential and global growth is so significant that we've evolved from the British School of Etiquette to the British School of Excellence, where we're investors in people. Let us invest in you and your career. Contact us to become an etiquette coach. Go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Start your career and elevate your success today.